Savage. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Hello and good morning. It is Saratoga Today here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your proud host, Howard Krauts. Thank you very much for joining us live here this morning on a beautiful Saturday morning, at least here in the Chicago area. And from what I understand, a nice morning out on the East Coast in Saratoga as the rain has moved away. I'm here with co-host from the East Coast of Maryland, Pete Visco. How you doing this morning, Pete?
I'm great. How's it going, Howard? I feel like a first-time starter. My first day on the Saratoga Today show. It's a pretty special day.
Yeah, well, I think you have a little bit of experience of co-hosting and hosting on this show.
Yeah, so. But I like to treat everyone like it's their own thing. So we'll treat this one as different. It's a special one.
Absolutely. They're on the turf today, Pete, which is great. Yesterday was unfortunate, a lot of scratches. Listen, that's the way it is at Saratoga sometimes. But
it happens.
You move on, you turn the page. Everything's on the turf today. We do not have scratches yet at Saratoga, which leads me to something I want to mention right away, is that it is very possible starting next week we're going to bump this starting time of this show forward so that we can get scratches. This is a living and breathing show, right, Pete? So we're going to make some changes as we go along. We'll inform everyone, of course, through Twitter and our YouTube channel, but it's possible starting next week we will start later than 10 a.m. Eastern. But tomorrow, you and Paul you'll be hosting tomorrow morning on Sunday. Weather just looks awful for tomorrow, so you guys.
Oh, really?
I didn't look. Yeah. But anyway, 10 a.m. tomorrow. Please make sure you subscribe on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Hit the notification bell and smash that like button. We need your help. We want to see if this show will stick in the morning. We had great viewership yesterday, Pete, and listens as well. So I see no reason why we're going to discontinue the show throughout the meet, but we do need your help. So please smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. You can see our Twitter handles also are on our name tags, and then scrolling at the bottom of the screen, you see our shows. Today at 4:30 Eastern, Pete, we're going to be live back on this YouTube channel from the Crestwood OTB on the southwest side of Chicago for a live show with live Patreons, live reaction of the late Pick 4 at Saratoga. So please come back here at 4:30 Eastern. You don't need Fox. It's not on Big Fox this weekend anyway. It's on Fox 1 or Fox 2, whatever. Anyway, come back and watch our fantastic coverage of late Pick 4. We'll be reacting, Pete, from the Crestwood OTB live. It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
all
those
right,
those live shows were good in the past, so those are really fun to watch.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun, and you get a lot of interesting things. We've got a crush your bets type of Pick 4 that we're going to be playing.
I love
later.
it.
Very skinny and very large, with many
Matt Miller special, huh? That's what
possibly trying to hit 100 times, Pete. Is that possible?
What I'd like to hear. Hey, that's the way to do it.
Patrons. All right. Anyway, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. We've got fantastic regular power picks through Patreon. We also have our Saratoga only power picks. We're not going to bring up the banners, Pete. We've talked about it quite a bit. Go to our website Monday through Thursday. You can sign up for our one weekend only individual power picks. You can still sign up through next Thursday, however, for our full meet Saratoga power picks, which are always Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Pete, I just sent them out right before the show. So everyone should have their Saratoga power picks written by yours truly, correct?
Hopefully we get some winners today. That would be lovely. Keep it going.
That'd be great. And then we've got our website. All right, Pete. Again, for those of you who are not part of our show yesterday, here's how it works on the Saratoga Today show that you're watching. We're either going to talk about the late Pick 5 or the early Pick 5 at Saratoga. Why? Because our Wednesday night and Thursday night shows always cover, or might cover the late Pick 5. So because we already talked about the late Pick 5 on our Thursday flagship show, we're going to talk about the early Pick 5 this morning. And on the show, we also talk about stake races. So we'll mention very briefly the two stake races later in the card. For more details, Pete, they should watch our flagship show, I think episode 275 from last Thursday night.
Sounds right.
Okay, let's go ahead and jump right in, Pete. We're going to share my screen here and jump right into the first race. Again, we don't have scratches yet. If scratches come up, ladies and gentlemen, please let us know. I do have Andy Serling's Twitter on, and we might get scratches as the show goes on. The first race, Pete, and I talked about this, Paul, we talked about this Thursday, is your typical really good baby race. It's for 2-year-olds going 5.5 furlongs on the dirt. It's a small field of 6, and there is a buzz horse here for sure. And the buzz horse is number 1, Pirate. Arr, for sure. In Ortiz. I have some workout information that I'll share with the viewers, but this one is an expensive buy out of Omaha Beach, by Omaha Beach, by a Medaglia d'Oro dam called Treasure, and this is a half to National Treasure. So this one could be any kind. Let me go ahead and I'll put our picks on the screen here in just a second, Pete, as I'm going through 1,000 different banners. You know how this is. Here we go. There's our picks on the screen. I'm going with Pirates, but you are going with another inching horse, the number 4 Special Element for Mott and Lascano, a horse by Copper Bullet, which is a first crop sire.
Yeah, I figure, if we're gonna start the day off, obviously, like you said, Pirate, it looks like the most likely winner, especially based on the buzz, based on the works, based on the connections. Omaha Beach, we'll see. He's probably going to turn out to be pretty good, I would assume. But you figure, let's take a shot. Anything can happen in a first-time start. You could start bad. Anything can go wrong. So I liked a little bit. I like this 4 horse. I think if you look, there's a couple things. First of all, $260,000 purchase, and Copper Bullet only studs for $7,500. So right there, I kind of like that. You always like that big disparity between purchase and stud. And then, honestly, I think Copper Bullet, he hasn't had a bunch yet. So he's new as a sire. We don't know a ton about him. Yeah, you can go to that. So he's 1 for 10 first-time starters only, which isn't the best, but 5 for 10 in the money, 3 in second, which I like. And then from a dirt sprint standpoint, he's 7 for 14, I think, if I saw that correctly. He's 7 for 14 in the money in dirt sprints.
Asmussen already sent out one for Winchell that got an 81 buyer first time out. Ponce de Leon, great name. Should be a Florida bred, right? But it's not. Kelsey Danner ran a 70. These Copper Bullets have come out firing. And Pete, we should hope so, because we actually co-own or have a piece of a horse by Copper Bullet that is debuting today, by the way, at Colonial in race 1. And I'm so embarrassed that the name is a Copper Missile. Copper Missile is the name. So if you are a fan of the HHH Racing Podcast, cheer on Copper Missile in race 1 at Colonial today. That is co-owned by myself, Pete, Paul, and Kyle Roscoe. We all have small pieces. Anyway,
let's kick off both cards with a Copper Bullet win. Is the way I'm looking at it.
Copper double. Anyway, this is also half to some nice horses. This one could be nice. The workout report. Let me share that with everyone. The last workout was a B- rating. Didn't break well earlier in some of his works, broke better in the work of the last work with a B-, which a B- is a pretty good grade for a first-time starting 2-year-old, Pete.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, again, if you look purely at sort of the works and the buzz, I think you have to lean on the 1, which is where you went. Now, one other thing, Bill Mott's been pretty hot with first-time starters. So, and I don't know if you always think of him as a, fast out of the gate with some of his horses, but a couple quick stats. Mott and the Jose Lascano combo, 5 for 14 wins, 9 for 14 in the money, first-time starters in dirt sprints. And in the past year, it's 5 for 10, 6 for 10 in the money. And then Mott overall, first-time starters on dirt in just like the past 7 months or so, 10 for 28, 33%, 18 for 28, 63% in the money. So he's just been on fire with these. So I figure, you know what, let's take a shot. If we can beat what I imagine is going to be he's 4 to 5 Pirates, 4 to 5 morning line. I assume maybe lower when we actually get to the race. So
I don't know. We'll see. Let me.
It depends. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, let me get a little information on Pirate. Got a B+ workout, which is really good for a first-time starting 2-year-old. Didn't break great in the workout from the gate, but came home like an absolute train. Now, when you're breaking from the rail, Pete, going 5.5, you better break okay. If this horse breaks slow, that's going to be a problem. My guess, and this is pure speculation based on all the information, is that this horse might not have the lead, but will be coming,
Well,
will
and
be will be
Irad
coming
fits
late
that.
for sure. And if he breaks decent, he's probably gonna be tough to beat. 350,000 again by Omaha Beach. A half the National Treasure has been working well. This could be a horse you might hear about in the Breeders' Cup in November. I don't want to jump the gun, but listen, there's buzz on this horse. You might be right about that 3 to 5. We'll see. If this horse is like 8 to 5, Pete, or 2 to 1, that'd be a little cold. If
Then yeah,
this horse,
yeah.
I think will be very well bet.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah,
No.
I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, with Pletcher, Irad, I don't think that's going to happen with those works and sort of with the buzz. I think this horse is going to be pretty low.
Let me talk about number 5. I'm very interested in number 5, Arteta. I didn't get dirt stats on George Weaver first time, Pete. I'll have you look that up. I know he's been good on turf with first timers, but if you can look up his dirt 2-year-old first time
Yeah, I'll
starters,
look it up while you talk.
that'd be great. But Arteta, ladies and gentlemen, let me go full screen here. Arteta has been working very well. A B and a B minus, but is supposedly very quick out of the gates. And when you're going 5.5, you want to be quick out of the gates. The breeding is good. Take Charge Indy is more long distance, but Street Sense on the dam side. This horse supposedly is quick. So I have a feeling this horse is going to break very well from the gate. Could take them wire to wire. Pete, yeah, those George Weaver stats.
Would you like a nice poo stat for the 5,
Sure,
as we
give
like
the
to say on our show?
Here comes the poo-poo.
George Weaver, first time starters on dirt at Saratoga, specifically 0 for 17 wins and 3 for 17 in the money. So
what is he else? Take out Saratoga though, if you don't mind.
he is, well, that's the thing. He's 17% anywhere else on dirt, 41% in the money. So but that's some of the reason why you want to drill down sometimes in these stats, because the broader stats look good, but sometimes the more specific stats change and they flip the other way. So you just want to pay attention. Again, none of these, we always say that, and we give a lot of stats out on this show. None of them should be the ultimate decider. They're just a data point amongst all the other data points you're considering.
We've had a lot of, listen, again, we're not going to show as many comments as we usually do on our night shows based on our time constraints, but Terry Frank at the bottom of the screen, morning, gent. Nice shout out by Seth Merrow on Capital OTB TV this morning. We do some advertising now on Capital OTB. So thanks to Seth Merrow for giving us a shout out. We got a lot of people again watching in the chat. So please make sure you keep commenting in the chat and talk to each other. Let's go ahead and move on, Pete, to the next race. Race 2. Race 2 is a starter allowance 50, 6 furlongs on the dirt. It's a field of 7. The morning line favorite is pretty heavy favorite. The number 2, Sugar Gray Leonard. Great name for you boxing fans. Dutro and Saez. Let me go ahead and switch the banners, and you're going to see that neither one of us are going with the 2. Look at that, Pete. We are both going with the 5-1 morning line. We have the exact same picks. 6-1. David Jacobson and Irad with Isitude, a closer. What do you like about this one, Pete?
Well, one thing we always look for, I think a lot of people may be handicapped this way, is you look at the favorite first and say, how's the favorite look? Do they look beatable? And this 2 horse, while solid, don't get me wrong, 1 for 11, which is a decent enough sample size at this point, not exactly a finisher. So not exactly one that you can rely on, especially when you're looking at a morning line of 9 to 5. So in this race, you're like, well, let's try and beat this favorite. It seems like a logical favorite to take down. So with Isitude, with a horse now, let's go with one who again has run 8 times. So that's a pretty decent sample size. But there's things that have changed also. So now now we're moving into the Jacobson barn off of 2 pretty nice races. Had to drop down to maiden 30,000 to get that win, but it was a pretty solid win. Came from behind, got a little bit of pace up front, then comes back, runs a decent second into a pretty slow pace, and was still closing into it. Now we move to Jacobson. We pick up Irad, which is fantastic. The Jacobson-Irad combo, 7 for 12 wins in dirt sprints and 8 for 23 wins, 35% overall. So picking up Irad is always a plus, especially with a horse that can come off the pace and pass horses. So there's just a lot that I like about this horse, and I think this one could be on the upswing, and hopefully the move to Jacobson kind of facilitates that a little bit. What did you like? I mean, you have him on top as well.
I love this horse, Pete. This is an angle that I like, where you have a lot of speeds. Now, we don't know how the track's going to play. It was definitely outside bias day one. Yesterday was, I thought, a little more, it was pretty fair, but a little more inside bias. Closures did okay. There's just a lot of speed. The one's got speed, the four's got speed, the five's got speed. It looks like there's a lot of need the lead type speed, and I love the claim off of
Yep.
Jacobson. Everything you mentioned. This is the best closer in the race in theory. I think Isitude is absolutely fascinating in this race. I really like Isitude. I don't, Sugar Gray Leonard, we already showed the PPs and we need to move on, but who's to say that Sugar Gray Leonard can handle a fast dirt course, Pete? I mean, they've tried to get the horse on the turf, and his better races are on wetter surfaces on the dirt. He hasn't proven himself at all to be very fast on a fast dirt course. He can win, of course, but I'm against him a bit.
I mean, are you a little surprised by I'm a little surprised even by the 9 to 5 morning line. I mean, I just don't, on paper, if you looked at this without the odds, I don't. And by the way, just for our co-host Paul, lost to Dracon. I forget how to pronounce it in the last race. That is a horse that is partially owned by our lovely co-host Paul Halloran's wife, I guess. I don't know if Paul has the piece or it was a gift for his wife, I think.
Zilla.
So,
they got a part of Zilla.
Yes. So,
by the way, Ray handled one with a Zilla horse yesterday, 20-1 in the.
I saw that. That is excellent too. Friend of the show, obviously.
We got a ton of people watching. Thank you very much for watching. Again, this is the HHH Racing Podcast. It is Saratoga Today. It's our morning preview show where we cover all the stake races and either the late pick 5 or the early pick 5 in detail. Today, it's the early pick 5. If you want late pick 5 information, buy our Saratoga Power Picks or watch our Thursday night flagship show from this week, episode 275. Let's move on to race 3 right now, please. Race 3 is the maiden special weight, mile 16th on the turf. It's for older fillies or 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares. It's a nice big field as of now of 11. There are some MTOs. They're going to be out. This race is going to be on the turf. It's an 11-horse field. The morning line favorite is number 5, Vanished, for Pletcher and Saez. And I go ahead and switch the banners here. You're going to see we are completely different here. I'm going 5-1-7. Pete is going 6-5-10. So I have 2 horses in the mix that Pete doesn't have and vice versa. I guess, Pete, that means it's wide open. You're going with the 6, Taciturn, a first-time starter for Chad and Irad. But this is not your usual breeding for a Chad first-time starter on the turf.
No, it is not. But I don't think I wasn't overly concerned about it. There may or may not have been a write-up of this horse in the Saratoga Power Picks today. We would have to, for the people who purchased it, they will have to read it themselves. Otherwise, you'd have to be surprised and make sure you purchase next week. Yeah, this one isn't. My thought was first-time starter against sort of others who've already started, a little bit more experienced. There's not much on the work tab. The breeding doesn't scream turf. So I see everything you think about it. I guess the thing is, Tappett's sort of pretty decent on everything. I mean, not outstanding on the turf, but it's not like his horses are bad on the turf. On the dam side, it's a little stronger on the dirt, but does have some solid turf routers if you look at sort of the progeny on the dam side. Another thing is we're starting this horse out at 1 1/16, which I like. And obviously the distance is not going to be a concern at all for this horse. I mean, it screams routing all the way around. So if this horse does take to the turf, then, which I'm hoping it does, and we're not exactly trying to beat, we're not beating English Channel and, we're not beating the top-notch turf horses in the world here. So I think if this horse does have some talent, it's still a Chad Klarovich with Irad, so the connections are fantastic. There are some solid enough works on the dirt to where I think this horse is at least is performing well in the mornings, well enough in the morning. So at 5-1, if we get that price, again, trying to beat a favorite that I just don't think is anything special. So if we could take down a favorite again, I'm all for that.
The Chad Brown horses, you have to be careful. They are often very well bet. We know that. He can win with a horse that's not well bet at like 5, 6, 7-1. I've seen it many times. Not as much as Saratoga, but more at Belmont. So just because this horse might not be taking as much money, which is my gut feeling for a Chad Brown. Doesn't mean he can't win. I'm slightly dubious of the pedigree, although there is turf in the pedigree. We'll see. The other thing is this horse doesn't have any turf workouts, which I found a
No,
little bit
yeah, it was odd.
unusual, Pete. Now, they could have gone up to the Oklahoma, training track at Saratoga and put this horse on turf. So I don't know. Some mixed signals for me, but this horse obviously has a big chance if he's ready to run for Klarovich. I'm going with Vanished. I'm sort of chalking out a little bit here, at least on top. There's not a lot of early speed, at least on paper. This horse has run well in his first two, or her first two. I don't know if she's a superstar here or not, but I think she's going to have the lead. Speed plays well in these turf races as the clipped thoroughbreds. I like the 5. I am very interested, though, in the 1 quite a bit. And we're not going to show the replay. It came from Europe, although I did watch the replay. It was pretty good. This horse is also working very well. Number 1, Isola. I'm trying to look at the workouts. I think got a positive workout report. I'm looking down on my screen because I've got the workouts. Yeah, got a B, got 2 solid B as in boy workouts. So this horse is working well for Jack Sisterson. I liked what I saw in the European replay. I think the number 1 is very live. And then very quickly, I do want to show the 7. I bet the 7 Heavenly Appointed in the Delaware debut, and I thought it was good. She's the 10. I just want to show the stretch run real quick if we can get to it. She ran really well. She was very professional. She's splitting horses there, about to come up in about 5th. And now she's coming up the rail. Watch what happens in the stretch here, Pete. She tips out again. This is a first-time starter, and she's a little green. She starts lugging in. You see the jock goes left-handed, and she's going to lug in again. You see she's jumped leads right there, bumped with this horse. The jock's not even going to the whip, really, because he's trying to straight her out. But watch the gallop out, Pete. We've talked about gallops out a lot. She finishes 2nd, but past the wire, once she sort of straightens her out and realizes, what her job was, I realized the race is over at that point. Look at this, Pete. This is a solid gallop out past the winner. I know some people say it doesn't matter. To me, it does matter. I think I've proven on the show many, many times that it can matter. So number 7 here, Heavenly Appointed, Pete, I think is interesting, especially because she has experience.
Yeah, I like the jockey. We're getting a jockey upgrade too to Johnny V. Graham Motion, 1 for 27 in maiden special weight turf routes at Saratoga, just for the record. But none of that matters. But I do like this. I had this horse as sort of a teetering between sort of an A and a B as well. So I'm sort of with you there. I think you just want to see a little bit of a cleaner race this time and see.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is the time where you want to catch the horse before they run that clean one and win. You want to catch them at a price when hopefully whatever her issues were in that race are straightened out now.
Charles B in the chat. R Stephanie. Let me put up her comment. We got so many great people watching the show. According to R Stephanie, again, another new person. There are a lot of new people in the chat. So if you're new to the show, thank you very much for joining us here on the HHH Racing Podcast. R Stephanie at the bottom of the screen says the NYRA website shows fast and firm. I don't think it's going to be firm. I don't want to question what New York is saying, but if that is true, if it is firm, it's much more on the good side of firm. They got some moisture, but it is pristine, Pete. So, it's not like they've only ran once. And so obviously the ground is very high quality, I should say. So even if there is moisture, the grass will soak it up, and it's probably going to be fair, I would say, today.
Yeah, it's also hard to. I mean, if you get too bogged down in trying to gauge, well, is it closer to fast? Is it closer to good? Is it closer to whatever it is? If you're trying to gauge all that, and you don't really know. If you just look at a horse and they just hate it when there's any kind of cut, or really love it when there's some sort of cut, then maybe you upgrade or downgrade a horse. But you can't get too bogged down unless it's just like it's definitely off and there's something definitely wrong and it's sort of a little more boggy. I mean, I don't get too wrapped up in it. If a good horse is going to win on the surface, no matter what, I think.
We are going to go a little longer than half an hour today because it's a Saturday. We'll probably go to about 10:45 Eastern, everyone. We're not bumping into any other shows. So thanks for joining us here. Let's talk about race 4. Not much to talk about here, Pete, other than the fact it is one of the best older filly and mare turf races in the country every year. It's the Diana Grade 1, better known as the Chad Brown Invitational lately. They're going a 1.125 miles. Don't misread the screen, folks. There's 5 fillies and mares running, and 4 of them are trained by Chad, including the incredible, I think we can say superstar at this point, Pete. The number
Yeah.
2 in Italian. I mean, what are you going to say? This is just an absolute monster who something very, very strange would have to happen for this one to lose today.
Well, she's one of my favorites, so I'm
Absolutely.
always rooting for an Italian. We got Phil Conti in the chat. I know him and I are we're always representing the Italian side. Yeah, what can you really say about her? And I guess we don't really have to talk about her too much. She's fantastic. She gets on the lead. She's strong. She can go all distances. It doesn't really matter. I guess the thing that disappoints you a bit is when you have a race where there's 5 horses and 4 Chad Browns, and the best horse here is a speed horse also by Chad Brown. You don't get the intrigue of, is somebody going to try and press her? Is somebody going to try and make her work too hard? You figure the other Chad Browns are most likely not going to do that. And the only other non-Chad horse, Fev Rover, is sort of a deep closer. So there's no chance of that horse trying to press or push in Italian. So that's the only thing that's disappointing. You want to see her maybe work sometimes, but even when she does, she still runs them off their feet anyway.
Jennifer Heinrichsen. Jennifer, thanks for joining the show. Another new person joining the chat. The answer is yes. They are on the turf today, Jennifer. All races are on the turf. We're waiting for track conditions, although we heard it might be fast, apparently. Pete, Andy Sterling brought this up yesterday. I think it's worth mentioning. When and if, and I'm going to say when because I'd be shocked if it didn't. When an Italian goes to the lead and no one challenges him or her, please don't yell into the screen. Why isn't anyone going after an Italian? There are 4 Chad Browns. Fed Rover, as you mentioned, is a closer. Why would they go after an Italian? There's no reason to. I'm assuming market segmentation, the number 3, who won for our very own Patrick Kunzel on Belmonte. Patrick, if you are watching the show or will listen, hello. But Patrick Kunzel, I was there in live, so I know, picked out market segmentation at 6-1 in the New York. I think this horse might be sitting second, Pete.
Yeah.
There are different ownerships. That is important to mention. So it's not like these horses aren't going to try to win, even though they're all trained by Chad, because there are different ownerships. But why would you go after an Italian? You sit with this horse right off and hope an Italian doesn't have her day. That's the only way this 3 can win. You don't go after an Italian. Then you're killing your own chances, right?
Yeah, you just don't. Yeah, you're not. There's no expectation that you can outduel. And if you do, then even if you burn both of yourselves out, then you're setting it up for another horse, a Fluffy Socks to come off the pace.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, and also it's still a grade 1. It's still a $500,000 race. You're still getting second in that race is pretty nice too for the ownership group. So I don't think there's going to be any complaints finishing behind her, but it does it does sort of lessen the intrigue just a bit.
For those of you that are not involved in ownership or breeding, and I've become much more involved in that the last year and a half, the broodmare stud value, Pete, goes way up if they can get a placing here into grade 1. Yeah. I like Fluffy Socks, by the way. This is a horse I've never really loved. I will be very honest, but she seems to be getting better as she gets older, Pete. And even though, it might not set up for her, I think she's got the best close in this race. I'm going with a straight 2-4 exacta, try to get some value with Fluffy Socks. I'm a fan of this horse. I think, again, she's improving, and she's going to have to run well even to beat some of the others because I like White Beam, also the 5. But I'm going to go 2-4. We're both going 2-4. This is all this horse does is run, and there will be some moisture in the track. An Italian hasn't really run on turf that has some moisture. I mean, you never know. It's horse racing.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm with you. I think Fluffy Socks at 5 is getting better. I mean, last time was the first start of the year. I actually had her. I really liked her in that last one to beat Spenderella. And she runs her race every single time. And again, I don't know if she's going to run down in Italian on the top end, but if a horse like market segmentation does try and go a little bit and does try and win the race, as you would hope she would do, same thing with White Beam. White Beam's a little inexperienced. We're not really sure. I think that Fluffy Socks can easily run these horses down for second. And if you get that price, which I don't know if you will, but if you're getting the 4th choice in the race in a cold exacta, maybe you get whatever. I don't know what it'll pay, but it's better than betting in Italian on top. So you're going to get something positive out of it.
I want to comment on the Michael Austin bottom of the chat. Whoops, excuse me. This is the one that I wanted to mention. I don't think Fluffy Socks is an A or B horse for Chad. He maybe a B. I mean, if she's improving, Michael, then I can move her up. But I think before, her last race or two, she was basically a seahorse or in Chad's barn. But she is getting better, and I don't think she's going to beat an Italian. But just because you finished second in Italian, Pete, doesn't mean that it's one of Chad's top horses necessarily. I mean, because there's not a lot of horses in the race. So Fluffy Socks might be better than I give her credit for now. But I don't know. I'm looking at her buyers, right? I mean, they really were nothing special until recently. So
no, I mean, it's tough. Yeah, you never think of her because she wasn't the type where you went into a race thinking you never thought she was the best horse in a lot of these races, and
No.
you never you didn't usually think she was going to win. You're like, she's going to run her race, she's going to hit the board for sure because she always does. That's what I think of her. So I think of her as sort of that next level down, not like although Chad, his top level horses, I mean, he has an Italian, but he's had a lot of those more second level horses, it feels like lately, as opposed to those sort of superstars on the turf.
I agree. But he's still pretty damn good.
I mean, those second level horses it's like the Applebee's, like those second levels are still better than most. It's just not up to maybe their normal par.
I'd be happy to own those second level horses.
Yeah, I'll take
race
I'll
5
take
is allowance race on dirt, Pete. 6 furlongs, New York breds, big field of actually 9 because there's an entry. Moreline favors the number 8, Mariachi. Get that mariachi band ready to go if you're a fan of that type of music. For Kimmel and Carmouche, that's who I'm going with. But you're going with a horse I have second, who I am very interested in here. The number 4, 19 Oysters, for Chad Summers of Mind Your Biscuits fame, and Tyler G, who I don't think has a win yet in these first 2 days. What do you like about the number 4, 19 Oysters in race 5?
Well, for our power picks, this may or may not show up somewhere in the power picks today. So just a little teaser for that. This is one who I thought, at first glance, I'm like, well, this is definitely sort of an underneath horse, which I know you like to do those. Hey, let's throw a horse that's a decent price in the first, second, third spots, and maybe you try. But as I look at it again, I look at Mariachi. Mariachi's a nice horse. Agility's a nice horse. I don't look at them as like super strong favorites that are going to be really, really, really tough to beat. So if you're looking for a horse that maybe has a little bit of upside at a price, you look at 19 Oysters off that debut. That debut was phenomenal. 84 buyer, wins by 8. They moved the horse up. I just don't know what happened in that second one. I don't know if it was the mile that got him. I don't know if it was just, it's hard to know what happened and what went so wrong in that second race. So then comes back, they cut back to the 6.5, breaks way in the back, was literally off the screen. If I remember correctly, I was watching it and then like off the screen, off the TV screen, but then runs late, has some kick late. Now you get a little bit of a break. If you look at it there, you can
keep talking. I'll show it.
Go ahead.
It's gonna be the 5. We'll see if I can get to the stretch run.
Yeah, you won't see the 5 a lot in the middle of the race, but just at least runs on and doesn't give up, which I like to see. Now we get the first time gelding, so we get the horse gelding. Maybe there were some problems there because obviously the horse showed talent in his debut, so maybe the gelding. I don't know. I'm looking for a horse that if he can recapture that debut form, it puts him right at the top of the, from a buyer perspective, from a talent perspective, and you're getting him at double-digit odds. To me, the works have been really good. And again, I don't know when he was gelded. That's the only thing that sucks. I couldn't find a date.
Well,
or anything.
Now the date at the top here says May 11th.
It does say May 11th. I see that, and I didn't see that earlier. I saw that, but
that does not mean that was the day the horse gelded. That's when
it's reported, right?
Or the trainer is reporting.
Yeah,
it's always like a weird thing,
and I don't always trust it. That's why I'm saying I never trust if that's the real date. But even if it is, so if you say it was May 11th, May 22nd, 47-1 bullet workout, 1 out of 60. June 18th, we get a 48-3. Then we stretch out for another workout. Then we come with a one more tightener before this race. I just think maybe if that gelding helped, and then this could be one too that I think the board could be. If they start betting this horse, then I think there's something up. Hopefully Hopefully they don't, and hopefully we can get this price. What did you like? I mean, you have him in second.
Well, I just want the DRF Clocker report, just quick information, which I highly recommend for everyone to purchase if you have the resources and the time to look at it, especially at Saratoga and especially with babies. That the July 8th workout was a solid B as in boy workout, and the comment was came home sharply. So there, I mean, yeah, he's a closer, like duh, right?
Yeah.
But it could have been a worse workout. When I see better workouts or good workouts after a gelding, look out. Now,
Yep.
it's got to set up, this race has to set up for him. He can't be too far back. I think agility has some ability and
Right.
agility too. And I do have Mariachi on top. I guess I'm chalking out a little bit here, but Mariachi faced some good ones already and has done nothing wrong. And I like the turn back in the outside post. So I think if Mariachi runs his race, Pete, he might be tough to run down sitting off of agility and
Yeah.
some others for Carmouche. But I agree. This is the number 4. 19 Oysters is sort of like Isitude, but a better version. A closer in a race that's got some speed in it at a price that we like, at least underneath, Pete. Final thoughts before we talk about the 2 stake races later.
No, I think we're good.
All right. So we are going to very briefly here, ladies and gentlemen. Again, thank you very much for watching. That's the early pick 5 thoughts. Again, we do not give out tickets on our Saratoga Today morning shows. If you want more information about the entire card, more detailed stats, anything you want to know, the Saratoga Power Picks are the way to go. Check our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. We also give ticket construction and ideas for our pick 5s on the Saratoga Power Picks. Let's very briefly, and I'm not going to show the PPs here, Pete, because we already talked about these races Thursday night, but very quickly, as I go ahead and scroll here on my side, let's go to race 9, the Kelso grade 3. This is a mile on turf. You see, it's a really nice field of 8. I know you're very interested in number 6, Filo D'Ariano, who's 5-1 for Cassian Ortiz.
Yeah, and I know we got our guy Mike Austin in the chat here, who is, you and him were giving me some crap about this horse yesterday, but I do think and we were filled with puns in this race, so you might want to watch the show just for that on Thursday. I mean, I'm agreeing with everyone. I think though the prevailing opinion is that Annapolis looks pretty strong. I'm not going to deny that. I mean, he's an 8-5 favorite for a reason. He looks really good. It looks like this race should set up for him. I was taking a shot more with Filo D'Ariano. I like the price a little bit. I like that. I'm hoping that he can be a little forwardly placed, maybe sit off what I think is some inside speed. Big Everest can maybe either sit off or contest, maybe get first run, take the lead, or be on the lead, and then just have to hold off the likes of Annapolis and Casa Creed. But for me, if you were looking from a horizontal perspective, I sort of like the 2, 6, and 8 are sort of the 3 I would lean on, with the 7 as a little bit more of a price addition to my tickets.
Yeah, I have a very strong opinion. Pete and I are completely different, which makes this great. This game great. If I could get out my words appropriately, Pete, there's a lot of speed in this race, and in Midday Image, Ice Chalk a lot, Big Everest, Filo D'Ariano. I know it's New York, it's turf. Sometimes they don't set up. There has to be at least an honest pace. I'm not saying it's going to be a meltdown, but there has to be an honest pace. I do not like the speeds in this race. Big Everett and Filo D'Ariano have gotten a lot of things their own way recently. I loved your top choice, Pete, as you know, last time at Belmont, and he ran huge, but he did get loose on an easy lead. I don't see that happening here. To me, I'm chalking out Annapolis and Casa Creed. I think are going to be very tough. Let me take off the banner here. Annapolis and Casa Creed are both going to be very tough. I will say this, Pete, both trainers, Pletcher and Mott, have expressed that they do not, I repeat, do not want a turf course that has that much give in it. If it stays sunny all day, this race is later in the day. Again, it might be listed firm from what we understand. It's not going to be firm, but it should be good enough for them. To me, they just class over the field. Yeah. They're both, Annapolis is more tactical. Casa Creed is the best closer. Anaconda is a bit interesting. I'm not sure a true 2-turn mile race is going to be best for this horse. And I'm not sure number 7 classes up. Of all the speeds, I like Big Everest the most. I'm just chalking out here, Pete. I do like Annapolis the most. However, based on the trip I think he's going to get. This is a nice field. Might see some of these horses in the Breeders' Cup Mile down the road at Santa Anita too.
Yeah, no, and I think that's the fun thing about this race. And I love Casa Creed too, is one of my favorite horses in training. So I will not be upset if he rolls by at the end.
Mike Francesa, by the way, for you sports radio fans out in the East Coast, has a large piece of Casa Creed. The last race we're going to talk about quickly here, the Grade 3 Sanford. This is the boys' version of the Schuylerville from Thursday. 2-year-old, 6 furlongs. There's a huge morning line favorite here. The number 9, Gold Sweet Pete. Are you going to try to beat this favorite for Asterson Ortiz, or you just think he's the goods?
No, I hope this horse is the goods. I love the way he runs. I love how he ran in his debut, even though he wound up losing. And obviously you love even more what he did in the Tremont. I'm hoping this horse runs off the screen. I'm hoping, you'd love to see just great performances. I'm not trying to get cute and beat a great horse. So I just really like this horse. I like the running style. I like everything about him. Not a fan of Asmussen too much, but other than that, I like everything about this horse.
Is there some backstory behind that? He only is the leading all-time wins for a trainer in North America.
What does that mean? Peyton Manning threw a lot of touchdowns, but I could hate him when he played. I mean,
Steve Asmussen. Where does this come from, Pete? I didn't know this about you.
I've probably, I don't like to, I'm a positive person. I'm an optimist. I don't like to spew hate when we're on the podcast. Right. I save that for Paul. That's what Paul is on. He likes to hate. But no, I really love this horse, and I hope he's the goods. And I hope like I said, I hope he can repeat that performance. And if he repeats anything close to that last race, there's no one in this field that I think can get close to him.
The only horse I want to mention, I agree with Pete. It is a 2-year-old race. Stuff happens, guys. These are 2-year-olds. They can bounce a little bit, etc. I'm not trying to beat Gold Sweep either. The only horse I want to mention a little bit is number 3, Dickens, a Florida bred for Alvarado and Zayas. This horse ran very well in his debut at Gulfstream, and we talked about this Thursday. A horse we have a small piece of ran 3rd in that race called Shards, who's pretty talented and will be running a Colonial in a few weeks. I like what I saw from Dickens. I also like the fact, Pete, that this horse came up to New York early, got to work at Belmont, now shipping up to here. Something tells me number 3, Dickens, has talent. Good enough to be Gold Sweep. I highly doubt it. But maybe underneath Dickens, the number 3, to surprise some people at a price.
Yeah, if you're going to play this race, you're going to look cold. By the way, I like Yo-Yo Candy, who ran 3rd to Gold Sweep. I'll take the shot at 15 underneath in 2nd. But yeah, go ahead, Howard.
No, I was going to say, just to see what you wanted underneath, you've got the 4.
Oh,
this
sorry.
is a cold punch exacta, right? And maybe try to get some value. It is a big field. I mean, the smallest exacta, God knows who's going to be second choice in this race. The smallest exacta will probably be 4 or 5 to 1. I mean, if someone gave you a 5 to 1 shot and they won P, you'd be ecstatic, right? So go, try to find that horse. If you think Gold Sweep is an auto here, a moto horse, try to get that exacta. You can absolutely get value in exactas, especially in a race like this.
Well, and the quick question too, I think we talked about it, was is Gold Sweep the kind of horse that you just single on, like say you're doing an ABC, do you just do an A Gold Sweep, or do you back the horse up? That's always a question people have to wrestle with. Do you add cost for horses that you don't really think have a shot to win? It's something to wrestle with.
Absolutely. Pete, very happy that we got some sun out at Saratoga today. Again, we don't have scratches. We might back up the show, as I mentioned earlier, so we can talk about scratches. Everyone, of course, will check the board and check your ADWs and NYRA and whatever, but all the races are on the turf. Pete, final thoughts. It's a great day. They got 3 graded stakes, 2 in the late pick 5, 1 in the early pick 5 with the Star in Italian. This is your typical Saratoga Saturday. You got baby races, stake races, big fields, prices everywhere, great weather. This is going to be an awesome day at Saratoga.
Yeah, when I was going through and doing the Saratoga Power Picks, so it's a full card, and I was like, the cool thing is we have some potential, we have some big-time Breeders' Cup type horses potentially going today, which is great. Tons of baby races with big fields. So those are ones where there's some opportunity to find prices because, hey, it's an 11, 12 horse field, not a lot of experience. Maybe we can maybe that's where you can catch the prices. in amongst some of these short, if you're doing sequences, we have in Italian and Gold Sweep, and in all three of the sequences, there's a really low priced favorite. So you have to sort of catch it somewhere else.
Matt Miller below the video player. Great show. Well paced. Looking forward to making this a regular part of playing Saratoga. Well done, guys.
Thank you,
Matt Miller, thank you very much. Pete, I see close to 200 people watching live on YouTube. That means up to 1,000 people watching on all other platforms. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching Saratoga Today here on the HHH Racing Podcast. We wish everyone a lot of luck at Saratoga. Crush your bets today at Saratoga. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.